being your own angels.
Okay.
Can I go back to something Mary said?
Yeah.
So I think about what you're talking about, getting our kids into manufacturing careers, and I know Tri-State Manufacturing and Lakes Country Service Co-op and several of us here work on the Dream It, Do It committee, trying to get the manufacturing message out to our students and our younger folks, well, as well as everybody, the influencers. But the point is, schools funding has been cut so bad for career counselors that the career counselors end up being counselors that are putting out fires, and there's no funding to get career education into our school systems the way it used to be. And rural Minnesota STEP has at times gotten private grant funds to put somebody temporarily in a school system such as Moorhead or Brainerd. But we're just really fighting that struggle and trying to get that educational information to the kids so they know what career to go into and how to plan for it and how to get PSEO credits and all that stuff. So just wanted to put that out there.
That's helpful, thank you.
Something along the education side of it, what we're seeing at DICAST is we finally have gotten to the point where we'll take somebody off the street and train them when it comes to the career issue you're talking about, and you alluded to it, Mary. Every October, Manufacturers Week, open up the plant, and you have the high schools. Used to be the high schools, you could call them, and they would send a busload of your FFA or your shop kids over to tour plants, and you'd set it up so they'd tour several manufacturers. The budgets are so tight now, the only way they can come over is if we pay for the bus to show up and the driver, because they don't have the funds for it. So yeah, they take in the funding from the state, property taxes, however you want to slice it. I know it's a complicated issue on how the state reimburses school districts, but they're slowly starving out here in west central Minnesota, and perhaps you see that often, or hear that often. I know that Minnewaska and west central area, I don't see how they can get by from year to year, because the population isn't there for the per pupil reimbursement. But yet the state formula, from a consumer's point of view, or my point of view, is it doesn't allow for the fixed cost of running those facilities.
Just for your information, we did actually add small school equity aid last year, which boosted, and I think Minnewaska's in that category of schools under 1,000 students. They seen a significant boost of between $400 and $800 a student in many cases.
Okay.
So, but I mean, that was it was focused for smaller schools. But I know, talking to the West Central area superintendent and that they were appreciative. It helped them a lot. It doesn't mean they're flushed with cash. No, who is right now? Nobody. Well, very few. But it did help bridge that gap. I still hear your point, though. The busing and therein lies a problem. I mean, maybe there's a solution that we can all come up with, where tri-state manufacturers can be helpful in coming up with some ideas of how can we help promote that. I do hear that.
Okay, we do have a hand on the question on the floor here.
Again, my name is Ingrid Wagner, and I work at Lakes Country Service Cooperative. And the project that I work with is entirely funded by the federal Carl D. Perkins Vocational and Technical Education Act of 2006. We are up for reauthorization federally, and we know that won't happen for a while because of the political climate, and there are other federal laws in education that are up, or acts, and ESCA. So we are very concerned in Perkins, first of all, with sequestration and what that would do to our federal funding that comes into state-approved secondary career and technical education programs. By state-approved, I mean that curriculum has been reviewed for rigor and relevance by the Department of Education, and the teacher has an appropriate licensure to teach career and technical skills. So federally, we're very concerned about Perkins. On the other hand, Perkins also has a clause in there where we must outreach to underserved populations and single parents and teen parents, economically disadvantaged students, students with disabilities. Those are all, and non-traditional in their field, are all areas that must be addressed federally with the use of Carl Perkins. And again, we do a lot of outreach in trying to expose all types of students to all types of careers, but specifically in manufacturing, it is non-traditional for females. And we do have a lot of issues in getting girls as young as 9th graders interested in going into our high school shops, which are not reflective of the current manufacturing industry. Our high school shops are dark, dirty, older shops because there are no insufficient funds to bring them up to current industry standards. But when we can get our kids into a manufacturing facility, they are absolutely amazed at not only the appearance of a manufacturing industry, but the diversity of occupations within manufacturing. If you don't want to stand all day, there are still jobs within manufacturing that you can serve. There are occupational health positions, there are accounting and business, there's marketing and sales, there's transportation and distribution. There are all sorts of careers within the manufacturing industry. So my request is, yes, there is something that the legislature can help with these programs and bring them up to date, and that is to increase not just equity funding, which goes into general funds, but to look at increasing and removing the limits on the secondary career and technical education levy, which is not only capped, but that cap means even the amount that is in statute is prorated. We need to see those dollars come into districts specifically for use within career and technical education, or we know they go into the general fund and are not always used equitably across all programs, including career and tech ed. It's a huge concern in our region. And part of our partnership with Tri-State is, yes, they are putting out scholarships to help fund classrooms. Dream It, Do It also has a scholarship program to pay for transportation costs so we can take kids into manufacturing industries and businesses. And those are things that should be happening in the school, that should be funded through the state and through federal, and should not necessarily need to come out of business partnerships. We are so grateful that they have stepped up to do that. We really need some more financial support within our school districts. And I will say post-secondary as well, because we are in partnership with two-year colleges.
Okay,
Just quickly, one thing that I'm seeing within the university, MINSCU, even the private schools and K-12 is a better understanding that they need to work together better. And I think they're starting to do that. Again, with a new chancellor, a new university president, and other leadership that's also fairly new. They understand the challenge. And I think for a long time, there's been a real disconnect there. So I'm optimistic that that may help as we go from, K-12 into some kind of a career path. So.
Bill, did you have something?
Yeah, just real quickly, the disparity of funding, metro versus rural, is certainly always an issue. Rural legislators, and it's something that we need to step up and fight harder for. And just to go back to the school funding, as you know, the shifting that had to go on to solve the budget 2 years ago, we were on track to pay that back this year. I hate to be the bearer of political bad news here. It seems like I'm kind of that guy. But we did have $400 million going back to the school districts in the final bill that was vetoed, and that would have kept the school districts to have to go out and borrow money, and pay interest. And that was on that. That was actually pill, as they call it, poison pill proof. There was nothing on there for the governor to veto, other than the fact that he just didn't want to see that happen before election year. That's my opinion, for what it's worth. And that $400 million would have went back to the school districts, and he chose not to do that. And I don't think too many people know that.
And we still have the need to do that.
Absolutely.
The problem hasn't gone away, or the need hasn't gone away. And that would have been a solution to at least partially pay back that solution, that